And thank you for joining me today for the Genesis Supplements ingredient import tutorial. Genesis Supplements allows you to directly import your ingredient data from a source document like an Excel spreadsheet or a CSV file into the program by mapping fields. And you do this from the database screen. But first, I want to go over to our spreadsheet. This spreadsheet is set up really nicely. We've got the ingredient attributes over here and the nutrients over here. And we have the allergens, allergen statement, our groups, and any contaminants. We're going to be importing data from each of these categories. It's important to note that Genesis imports number values, or in the case of groups, on-off values, yes-no values. So over here in the organic percentage screen, make sure that this is indicated as a number or a general field. If it's indicated as a percent field, the program will import 100% as the value of 1. We don't want that, so make sure it's set up correctly before going on. Once you're satisfied that your source document is set up correctly, or that it has the information that you want to import, close out of it and let's go back over to Genesis. From the database screen, click the Import button. Find your file, in this case our ingredient import, and then the wizard will guide you through a series of screens. The first thing we want to know is, are you importing an ingredient or a formula? It's important to note right now that if you are going to be importing a formula, any ingredient that is in that formula must already be in the program before you import the formula. So do the ingredients first. Select your header row. The header row is going to be what contains the names of the fields. In most cases, it's going to be your first row. So the wizard assumes that it's that. But sometimes you might have your company name in the first row and the header names in a different row. So select the correct row and then click Next. On the screen, the import wizard assumes that you want to import all of the rows that are under the header row. If this is not true, select the correct rows before hitting Next. You can hold down your Shift key or your Control key to select more than one row. Now this is where we're going to map fields. That means we're going to connect your data fields to the program's data fields. So we see over here the original fields, that's what's in your source file, and then this is the data that's in those fields. You have to have a name mapped and you have to have a defining amount mapped. So let's start there. I can see that this is my name field. So I'm going to click on Ignore and get a list of suggestions. The computer's saying, hey, it's probably name. And I'm going to go ahead and choose name. And then this turns green. You see a green check mark indicating that that field is mapped and will therefore be imported. Defining amount. 99% of the time that is 100 grams. It's a very common thing that we use. So I'm going to enter the defining amount in here of 100 grams. Click enter and then you see that the error messages have disappeared. We can go ahead and import now if we wanted to. Obviously we want to add more fields to this, so let's go. You see some fields have already been mapped. That is because the name in your source file in your original document matches exactly or pretty close to exactly the name in Genesis. Those are indicated with the green check mark. You might want to review them, make sure that they're correct before going on. All right, let's start up here with create date. That's not mapped, so I'm going to click ignore. There's no suggestions that show up right away, so I'm going to go over here, click show all. I see created. That's what's going to be the correct mapped field. Again, I have to click show all, and I don't see anything here. But it is an ingredient attribute, so I have to add that field. I'm going to do that by clicking user added fields and then clicking new user added field. And then we will continue mapping the rest of the fields in the same way. product, maps to product name, vendor. And that is going to map to supplier name. I don't need to show you every individual field, but I do want to show you pricing. There are two ways this is going to map. Either it's going to be one field, which would be cost amount, or it's going to be cost quantity and cost unit. Again, your original field is price per kilogram, so that is a single field that we have to map. Go over here. So I'm going to select cost amount. And then I'm going to set a unit, and we see that it's kilograms, so I'm going to set it as kilograms. Now I want to show you what happens when we don't have a nutrient component in the program, like supponents. Click ignore. I know that this is a nutrient, so I'm going to click the nutrient radio button and then open this up, double check that it's not in here spelled differently. And then I'm going to click new nutrient. The program wants to know if it's active or inactive. Supponents is active, so it's checked. I'm leaving that like it is. And then percent here is fine because that's what I want to show up on the label. I'm also going to add methanol. Click ignore. Add it as a new nutrient. But then this one is inactive, so I'm going to change this. I'm going to uncheck it, but again, leave the percent unit. Total carbohydrates, I probably want that, so I'm going to go ahead and map that to carbohydrates. And then down here, I want to look at sugars, because we have sugars as a nutrient here. That's indicated by the nutrient amount of grams. I'm going to map that, but then I also have sugars down here. It's a group. I know that it's a group from my source document, and it doesn't have a value by it. So I know that this is a group. I'm going to go ahead and map that to a Genesis group. Sugars isn't currently a group, so again, I'm going to have to add a new one. New group, sugars, and I will show you that when we get into the program. Once you've mapped all your fields, click Next. The validation screen opens. Now, any errors will be listed at the top, and you will have a few options for how to fix those errors. You can't have any errors in order to import. All of the errors have to be taken care of before the program will let you continue. So once everything is in order, go ahead and click Next. And then it takes a few seconds. Import complete. 2 ingredients imported. And then we added a new group. We added a couple new nutrients and a user added field. Now exit will take you back to the database screen. New import will start the import process over, but let's hit the search button to go to our open screen. Then I'm going to go ahead and open. You see them here. You see the imported ingredients here, and I'm going to go ahead and open fructose. Okay, you see that we have our active ingredients here. And then we've got the cost over here. We have our user added field, country of origin here. And our groups here. I would also like to show you a few things in the ginseng, so let me open that. Remember, we added saponins, and that shows up here, and then we also added methanol, which shows up here. I thought that was important for you to see that too. And that concludes this tutorial. Thank you.